Hey dudes, let's talk a little bit about vibrato. What is vibrato? Well, it's this wiggly sound. It's that sort of sound when you make a note oscillate and change the pitch of a note. Essentially all vibrato is, especially in the case of what I call regular up and down vibrato, which is this type of stuff. If you treat it as a series of string bends, which is essentially what it is, you're actually taking a note and you're bending it at a pitch, returning it back to the original pitch, a series of bends. That's all vibrato is. It's just understanding that mechanic. So how do we do this regular up-down vibrato? I see a lot of people using just their fingers like this. Now if you're one of those people and you're able to make it work for you, great, and don't listen to me at all. But if you do it that way, you are just using the strength from your fingers alone. You are not using the strength of your whole hand, your wrist and your arm, which is essentially where the strength and the power of vibrato comes from. The way I look at it, all the finger does is it's just the point of contact with the string. Basically you're touching the note, all the finger does is keep hold of that note, keep hold of that string. The actual vibrato motion itself comes from the hand, the wrist, the forearm, all the way back from the elbow. So this sort of part of your arm here and your hand and your wrist is actually sort of rotating downwards. And if you sit there with your guitar and you actually look at your hand, if it's doing the correct sort of motion, it will look like your sort of wrist is coming inwards and your little finger is going outwards that way somewhere, you know. And the way this actually works, it's like this little groove in your hand here, between your thumb and your index finger, it sort of pivots on the neck. And even if you take your thumb away from the neck, the back of the neck, you'll still see that you can actually do this motion. So it's actually that part there, it sort of pivots on that string, and all these fingers do, they have to just keep hold of the string, and it's the combination of that and the rotation of the wrist that produces the power. Now for all of these lower strings, like from the low E to the G string, when I'm doing vibrato, I always bend it downwards. What do I mean by bend it downwards? I mean directing it down that way, instead of pushing it up like... If we were to do a string bend, for example, you might want to push it up on the G string, but I always go down for vibrato, because it just seems to be more control when you're on this side of the neck. When you get to the B string and the high E string, however, we're running out of fingerboard there, so you can't really do the downwards wide vibrato. You can do a subtle, but like I said, it's very subtle. If you still want to go for the real wide aggressive vibrato, you're going to have to direct it upwards when you get to these strings. Again, just treat it like a string bend. You use the same motions of your hand as you would if you were just going to bend the string up like this. Just experiment with different intervals. This is a good way of training your vibrato to keep it in tune. So pick, for example, let's pick this note here. Let's try it with a semitone. So you could bend that easily, couldn't you? So if you want it wider, just practice with a wider interval, like a whole tone. And always take care to return the string back to its original pitch, like this. I'm starting here. If you don't return it to its original pitch, it can sound out of tune like this. That usually happens when people will bend the string out and then start vibrating it, but not returning it back to the original pitch. That's how you can make it sound out of tune when you're doing vibrato, and if you wondered why that happens, that's why. treat it like a string bend, return it to its original pitch and then start again. Now the last thing, before I leave this with you, is something I do with string bends as well. Instead of just using a solitary finger on its own and doing it like that, what's this finger doing? You've got a spare finger there, so use it to give you extra strength on the string. Put it on the string in front of that finger, or put it next to it, whatever. So for example, if I'm playing this on the 7th fret here, if I want a little bit more control, a bit more strength, use this index finger here. Now me personally, I sort of just put this finger on the fret in front of it, and then I've got 2 fingers there on the string, so I've got the strength of 2 fingers there helping out instead of just 1. And it's the same story if you just want to use the other fingers, for example. A lot of people don't want to use their little finger for vibrato, but the thing is, you know, if you use these other fingers as well, and just put them on the string in front of it, you can just have them bunched up close together in front of it. It's just about strength. So if you're playing it with a 3rd finger, don't do that. Use those extra fingers to give you strength. And yeah, if you follow those things, you know, pretty soon you'll just be whacking out a really nice wide vibrato like Zakk Wylde or Paul Gilbert, and yeah, there you go. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Take care, and see you soon.